You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and that charm, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag
For what?
with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club,
Why?
buy some bottles, impress them girls.
what?
It's more than life.
Oh, fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And I'm Ethan, and I'm back. The bye week is over, and quite a bit of news has actually happened over the bye week. There's some talking points, but first thing I want to get into here and get out of the way real quick is I got a couple people to shout out, and first thing I want to do is shout out my boy, my little bro here, Christian Little Man Smith, for hijacking his little sister's account, Tigery. So I want to shout out Tigery's account and Christian Little Man Smith, my little bro from back in the day. I want to just shout them both out, Tigery and Christian Little Man Smith. I appreciate the support and throwing out some likes and some comments on the last podcast. It wasn't Saint related. It was some UFC content, some MMA content, but they were commenting and throwing down some likes on that last one. I really appreciate anyone that does any of that kind of stuff, likes or comments or subscribes or shares or anything like that. I really appreciate any of that kind of stuff. Really helps the channel, So if anyone subscribes or and I can identify your account name or anything like that, and it pops up on my notifications, I'll shout you out too. So I appreciate that, Christian. And Tigery, his little sister too, having to hijack her account. Maybe you need to make your own on here and subscribe, and I'll shout you out 2 times. But anyways, let's get to some of the little news headers. There was some interesting little snippets and news that came after the Bucks game, that horrific loss. There was some really ridiculous stuff that came after the fact of that game, stuff that maybe we could have handled. It would have been stuff that would have been pain manageable if the Saints would have lost, but it was just a spit in the face, considering they didn't even win the game. But anyways, let's get into that stuff right now. So can I get a menu? And the first thing I'm talking about, you guys probably know what I'm talking about, and that is the $500,000 and $50,000 fine, like $250,000 and $50,000 fine, like that is ridiculous. So the Saints get fined a half a million, and then Saints get fined. The Saints organization gets fined $500,000, and then Cam Jordan gets fined $50,000. And when I first saw this fine, I think I just saw the $500,000. I think I just saw the Saints getting fined $500,000, and I just saw Cam Jordan's name, and I was thinking, like, what? Cam Jordan's getting fined $500,000 just for that? And I was like, are you kidding me? That's like as much as some players' contracts altogether. Like that's got to be that can't be correct. The way that's like tapered down for his contract. I know he's a high marquee player, but his contract isn't that he's not making that much money for that that's not that wasn't that big of a uh, action. Like he didn't do like what he did there wasn't that terrible, and it wasn't that obvious. Like there's players that have done much worse things, and I don't know what the highest fine that a player's ever done. Like the worst thing a player's ever done, like maybe like Miles Garrett, like swinging the helmet, or I mean, like domestic abuse, like um, uh, beating up people, and there being videos of it or whatever. Deshaun Watson, like I would imagine their fines or whatever have been probably close to 100,000. But when I first saw it, I just saw Cam Jordan's name and then the Saints, and I think I just saw the 500,000, the half a million, and I was like, that's ridiculous. Like that's as much as some rookies, like some rookies that are just like like fifth round picks, or undrafted free agents that are kind of getting lured in here. The Saints will sometimes guarantee undrafted free agent rookies like $150,000 or something. And I'm like, oh, that's like more than their entire contract. So I was like, that's ridiculous for that. I was like, even if he actually did do that, which I think that's even if he did, I remember him doing that, him going down on that play. That was like what towards the end of maybe the third quarter or kind of early in the fourth quarter when the Buccaneers were around like midfield or something, and they were going to like try to score and make the score like 10 to 10 to 13 or 10 to 16, and it was 4th and 10, and it looked like the Bucks were going to about to go for it on 4th and 10, and they were all ready and set up to go for it. And I don't think the Saints were expecting them to go for it on 4th and 10 there. It just looked like everybody was marching to go off the field, and the Saints were going to bring on their special teams, but the Bucks weren't taking their offense. And then just out of nowhere, Cam Jordan goes down to one knee. So it did look, I admit, it looked kind of odd, but still, it's not like that's the first time an NFL player has ever done something like that in the game. Like that happens every single week, So to finally just single out a Saints player for doing that, and in a loss, no less, is just so ridiculous and annoying. And the reason I say that is because that exact same thing happened in the Saints game. Because Levante David did that exact same thing in the Saints game, and it really slowed the whole momentum of the Saints game because that exact same thing happened at 4 minutes at the 4 minute and 53-second mark of the third quarter. There was 4 minutes and 53 seconds left in the third quarter, and the Saints just picked up a 1st and goal at the 11, and he went down with a similar injury. He went down like he had a calf injury, and the Saints had all the momentum. They were moving the ball. It looked like they were about to go in for a go-ahead touchdown, and the Tampa Bay, they had all 3 of their timeouts, and he goes down with like he had a calf injury, and he was only down for a couple seconds off of this. They could have took a timeout, but he goes down with this calf injury, and he was only down for a couple seconds, and then he gets right back up and he jogs off the field like there was nothing wrong with him. And then, of course, a few plays later, he's right back in there like nothing happened to him. And that threw off. And what happened to the Saints? Do they come away with a touchdown off of that play after that? No. They ended up having to settle for a field goal because of that. And I'm telling you that's just it's exactly the same thing as in basketball. Like when a basketball team is getting like all the momentum and they're scoring back and forth and they're getting turnovers off of the other team. Like what does a basketball team do to folly and stalwart another team's momentum? They call a timeout. But in this situation, instead of calling a timeout, a team fakes an injury. And that's exactly what Levante David and the Buccaneers did there. But are they getting fined Are the Buccaneers and Levante David getting fined for their situation? And that definitely cost the Saints more the game more than Cam Jordan's situation because the Saints would have came away with a touchdown on that situation. So that cost them four points. So that would have cost them, that would have been what, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So they would have scored 20. The game would have been 20-17. The Saints would have won the game 20-17 then. So, and I think from the few little other podcasts I listen to and the other Saints media and stuff and articles I've read, I don't think I've heard anyone else highlight that Levante David literally did the exact same thing in the game. And I haven't seen where Levante David or the Buccaneers are getting fined $550,000 either. But anyways, Cam Jordan says it's idiotic and he feels insulted and he's gonna appeal to the fullest degree. But yeah, that was just a complete, definitely in a complete insult to injury. After that, like it couldn't get the loss couldn't get any worse, and then getting like the knife twisted and thinking like really like I would have it would have been great. I'd have loved to be getting fined and uh, like it would have just been comical to get that fine let leave it down if we'd actually won the game. It would have just been funny then, but having not even won, it's just a slap in the face to be getting fined for something like that when you don't even win. And I'm sure Levante David, having done that and they won, I'm sure that nothing even happened to them. I'm sure they're laughing like Cheshire cats afterwards. But anyways, that's enough. I hate that I'm even talking about that game, but it was just something that came out over the bye week. On to something that's actually as of note when it comes to the Falcons game and Falcons hate week, and that's the fact that the Saints won't be playing against Marcus Mariota, who's played in basically every single game for the Falcons. He's been their starter. Like if I was to have asked you who would have been the Saints starter, uh, who would have played in more Saints games or Falcons games this season, either Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota. I wonder who you would have said to start the season. Would you have guessed Jameis Winston, who ended up only playing in what 3 or 4 games, or Marcus Mariota, who ended up playing in what 13? He played in started the first 13 games of the season. Like that, that's wild. I'm sure a lot of people would have expected Jameis Winston, a healthy Jameis Winston, to have started like almost every season, single game. But I mean, I don't know. I guess you can't hold it too much against him because the guy had a broken freaking back. But still, uh, it's very interesting. But this is an interesting story about him that came out during over the bye week and the week leading up to this Falcons Saints game is so he gets injured. I don't know if it was even a real injury in the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and so he gets benched in that game, and so he gets benched for Desmond Ritter, and then it comes out that he like leaves the team, and then there's the story about well he left the team because he supposedly had a child born, but then it comes out later that his child was born a week earlier, so that really wasn't the reason that he had left the team. And then it comes back out that he had knee surgery and was going to be put on season-ending IR. So it sounds like some weird locker room drama with Marcus Mariota, who was your pretty much like he was a consistent starter. He was very reliable for the first 13 games, and then you bench him, and then he literally just left the team for a week. And then next thing you know, he's coming back, and you're putting him on IR with a knee injury. That's just a weird thing. And sounds like that situation wasn't handled very well. And it'd be interesting to see if he built any relationships with any veteran players on that Falcons team, and if uh, how any of those veteran players feel about the change over to the rookie Desmond Ritter, and if any of those veteran players feel as if they could be benched and thrown under the bus like that, uh, and if Arthur Smith uh, feels feels as if he has lost the locker room because of that odd handling of that situation, or if the locker room likes this decision of moving on to the young guy, because I imagine by now people know what they have in Marcus Mariota, and if you hadn't figured out what you have by now after 13 weeks of seeing him start, but that's just an odd situation there. Because I don't know, it sounded like when he first left for a week, it just sounded like he, from the first when I first heard that reported, it sounded like he was just leaving in a hissy fit, like he was leaving for personal reasons, or that he was just upset that he was benched. And then you heard the thing about, oh, he was leaving because he had just had a child, and then you heard that he left because he was having knee surgery, and then next thing you know, he's put on IR and was going to be done for the season. But you never heard nothing about the knee injury being the reason he was benched. But I don't know. That's a wild thing. But of course, the first start of Desmond Ritter's career is going to be against the Saints, and we know how rookie quarterbacks perform against the Saints in their first career start. So I'm sure he'll look like Dan Marino against the Saints, and so that's a good, not even a get back for Desmond Ritter, but that's just a shove off and a great start. That'll be a great start to his career. I'm sure he'll look like Robert Griffin III probably against the Saints on Sunday. But anyways, let's look at the Saints and Falcons injury report real quick here. And actually, it's not as terrible as you think. Just with If you're just looking at straight players that are out. When I first looked at it initially, I thought it was really bad, but it's going to be hard to just go off of who's going to be inactive, because there's a lot of players on here that are questionable, I guess. But let's go over it real quick here. So Zach Bond, ankle, did not practice all week. He's listed as out. JT Gray, hamstring and back, did not practice all week. Listed as questionable. Juwan Johnson, ankle, limited all week, questionable. Cameron Jordan, foot. He was actually, I mean, that's what he went down with in the game, was a foot, and then he was limited all week, and then was full on Friday, but has no game designation. But I mean, hell, he was on the injury report. NFL, come on, it's not like we're just trying to cover our butts here. But I mean, he was actually on the injury report. Come on, NFL, you're trying to say faked injury? Get out of here! Come on. And then Marshawn Lattimore, abdomen, still limited all week, listed as questionable. I think they should probably just shut him down with that lacerated kidney and broken ribs. Will Lutz, illness, did not practice Wednesday, limited or full the rest of the week. No injury designation. Ryan Ramczyk, Rest and knee limited. Wednesday full. Rest of the week no injury designation. Adam Troutman ankle limited all week, questionable. Peyton Turner ankle limited all week, and then full on Friday, questionable. Dwayne Johnson did not practice all week, illness, questionable. Pete Warner limited all week, questionable. PJ Williams did not practice all week, listed as out. Game designation is out. So I don't know. I mean, you only have two that are officially out, but overall, the injury report is, well, questionable. So, I mean, there's definitely been worse injury reports this season, but there's some of these on here where it's like Dwayne Washington didn't practice all week, so I imagine he's probably out. Marshawn Lattimore is listed as questionable still. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play. So, I mean, there's just so many that are just questionable. Sometimes when you have half of these guys are questionable, probably half of them aren't going to play. So, like I said, this injury report looked questionable. So this injury report has looked questionable and doubtful all season. So on to the Falcons injury report. Man, it would be amazing to have an injury report like this. Look at this thing. So quick to read off, if I can actually even read these names. Guard Chuma Edoga, knee, did not practice all week, listed as out. Wide receiver Cordero Hodge, illness, did not practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday, full no game designation. And running back Cordell Patterson, rest, practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday, practice Friday, no game designation. And that's it. That's it. Wouldn't that be amazing to literally only have like one player on your injury report that's of any significance? Like that, man, three players and only one of them is of any concern. That would be amazing. But yeah, that the Saints are not that lucky, are not that privileged. That's for sure. But anyways, on to hot takes here. And my hot take here, like always, it's hard to pick hot takes because don't really know what players are going to be playing. But once again, I think this one is a little reliant on who plays. But I'm going to put the reliance on if Pete Warner is back. And this kind of has to do with, what are we going to do with Pete Warner once he comes back? Are we going to have enough playing time, enough snaps for Pete Warner and Caden Ellis? And I think a lot of people are concerned about that. But yeah, even with Caden Ellis playing so well, I think we're going to be. I think a lot of people don't like Dennis Allen, but he still knows what to do with this defense. And the Saints defense kind of fell apart last week against the Buccaneers, but they still look good. They still look good against the Buccaneers. Heck, they look good against the 49ers too. They've just kind of fallen off. They can't close games. They can't get enough points. But what I'm trying to get at is I think even with Caden Ellis playing so well and Pete Warner was playing so well before, I think both of them are going to have double-digit tackles, total tackles. I'm not going to be able to say solo tackles or tackles for loss or sacks or anything like that, but just double-digit total tackles in this game. So they're going to be, both of them are going to be flying around the ball in this game against the Falcons, sideline to sideline. So that's predicated. That's also very predicated on whether Pete Warner actually plays in this game. And then You know, I was talking about how Desmond Ritter probably going to look like Robert Griffin III out here against the Saints because this is his first career start, rookie start against the Saints, and we know how that always usually turns out. But actually, I'm gonna, the Saints, they've had a little trouble getting turnovers and whatnot uh, in this season, but I'm gonna say Desmond Ritter is gonna have a little hard time against this Saints defense, that's actually been playing better down the stretch. And I'm gonna say that Desmond Ritter, he's gonna turn the ball over. I don't know if it's gonna be a sack or an interception, but he's gonna turn the ball over. He's gonna get strip sacked. He's gonna maybe on a scramble, he's going to get the ball knocked out from behind, kind of like uh, Cam Jordan forced uh, last week, or he's going to throw an interception. Maybe if maybe if Marshawn actually comes back, maybe he'll get an interception, or maybe someone else will get an interception. Uh, maybe Alontae Taylor will get an interception. But yeah, I think Desmond Ritter will have his first career turnover against the Saints. And then when it comes to a score here, uh, I think it'll be a close one once again. But the Saints have been decent at keeping the score low. They held the 49ers to what, just 13 points, and then held the Buccaneers to only 17 points. So I think they can score, keep the Falcons to only 20 points, and I think the Saints will be able to score 27. So I think the Saints, even though it doesn't probably won't help the Saints in the long run, even though we saw the Buccaneers get destroyed by the Buccaneers, the 49ers last week, and hell, it looks like the Panthers are as good as anyone in this division, and it just matches up so well. The Saints have a bye week, and then of course the team they're coming back and playing right after the bye week is a team that was also on the bye week, of course, the Falcons. So does that really help them that they're having a bye week so late in the season? That the team that they're playing is also coming off a bye week. I love how the the, the season, the schedule makers make the schedules like that. But I think the Saints can win this game. I think the two teams that they've played recently are probably better than the Falcons. Definitely the 49ers are. And I think both those teams have better defenses than the Falcons. So I think the Saints can score 27, and I think they can hold the Falcons to 20. So I'm going to pick the Saints to win this one and sweep the Falcons 27-20. So I think that's all I have for you. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?